Hello and welcome to Frames Team, and today we'll discuss how to set up the Nikon Z6III for best autofocus in stills and video. Also how to set up some of the most important custom buttons in this video. I'll end this video at a point where we pick up discussing the My menu setup in the next video. So the moment you end this one, go on to watch the next video where I discuss how to set the My menu. So let's begin. I have my Z6III on the table. It's tethered to the Ninja 5, which is recording the screen. As a first step, go inside the photo shooting menu. Then you scroll down till you find the focus mode where you set it to AFC, and this is for stills. Inside the AF area mode, you will see there are multiple area modes. Don't touch anything here because you're going to set this up through the custom buttons. You're going to decide what autofocus area mode to choose through the function buttons. So you leave this, come down, and then go inside the manual focus subject detection area mode and keep it to all, because in a shooting manual focus, wherever the eye is, the person is in the subject, you would like the camera to detect that. You'll have a zoom function, you zoom in and then manually tweak your focus with the lens and focus. So that's all you have to do within photo shooting menu for autofocus setup. Then come down and go inside the pencil or the custom settings menu. There you go, first go inside focus. Once you go inside focus, you're going to have a whole lot of focus setup options here. So go inside AFC priority and keep it to release. It's typically set to release by default. Don't change that. Come down, look at AFS priority selection, and then choose focus. It's typically again set to focus. Now once you've done that, go inside A3 or focus tracking with lock on and keep it to 3 again. Leave that, come down to A4 or focus points used, ensure that all points are selected. At F5, store points by orientation, choose focus point. I think it's set to off by default. Change it to focus point. Come out of that, come down to AF activation, keep it to AF on only. Or look, by default it's on shutter / AF on, which means that when you half press the shutter, the camera is going to acquire focus. The problem with that is if you're using actually manual focus, right? You want to fine tune the manual focus. Let's put it on shutter AF on. Let's say you want to focus on the tripod here, okay? But then you press the shutter button, the shutter AF activation is on. So it's going to activate the autofocus and it's going to override your feedback onto the lens's manual focus motor, and it's going to straight find the eye and take a shot. That's not what you wanted. You want to actually override your autofocus for that moment and take a picture of this tripod there. But that's not going to happen. It can only happen when you go back and switch off the shutter AF on button and put it to back button. So just do AF on only. Now if I want to shoot, it doesn't change focus, all right? Because the AF function, autofocus function, is taken off from the shutter button. So that's why I set it up, because I think it gives me more control when I want a manual focus override on the focus system, because oftentimes that happens when you're shooting with long lenses and shooting birds, and it's kind of focusing on a subject that where you don't want to focus. You want to guide the lens to a different point, and it just helps if the camera listens to where I wanted to focus on via the manual focus instruction on the lens. Now go back to focus and then keep focus point persistence off, limit AF area mode selection, because when you want to cycle through all these autofocus modes, there are too many to choose from at times, but many of them are actually important. So I just switch off dynamic area AF medium, and I also switch off wide area autofocus L, because I think the rest of the stuff covers what they do. So I just take them off. Now come down to focus point wrap around, switch it on. What it does is, if your focus point is, let's say, on the right side of the screen, and you want to quickly go to the left side, all you have to do is push it and it's going to come out from the left side. But if you switch that thing off, that's not going to happen anymore. You have to travel all the way by pushing the focus point, so it's inconvenient. I would like to like the system to work smarter, so I'm going to switch on the focus point wraparound thingy here. Focus point display, I didn't change anything there. It's all fine actually. So I'm going to go back. Built-in autofocus assist illuminator, switch this off. You don't want that green light to be on the subject. It disturbs people. I don't like it. Looks cheap. Focus peaking, yes, switch it on. And focus peaking sensitivity standard is good. If you want higher sensitivity, set it to 3, but I think 2 is all right. And I use yellow, and I want the area to be painted. As you can see here, the tripod is getting painted to the yellow, right? That's a color that I like because it gives me enough contrast and I can see it properly. Now, focus point selection speed is high for my camera. You can set it to normal or low, but high just allows me to move things fast, right? Look at the speed decrease that happens if I set it to low. It now moves quite slowly. I don't want it to move so slowly. I'm a bit impatient, but even normal is great, but I just set it to high. That's my personal choice. You can set it to normal as well. So we're done here, but now we are going to set up the camera for autofocus in still. So for that, you come down within the pencil menu, custom settings menu, come down to F controls, go inside custom controls shooting menu. All right, go inside that, and we're going to start from the bottom. We are going to start from the bottom, and we are going to set up these buttons. This is the focus. This is the control ring. Now this is all right. This is going to just help you do manual focus when you are in autofocus on your Nikon lenses. So this is fine. No problem. We don't need to change it. Lens function rings, they're fine. I didn't change them. The lens memory set function, I've changed that to autofocus lock, because at times when I want to lock autofocus, if there is a button on the lens, I am going to just quickly use that button to hold autofocus at a certain point. Lens function button, the second one, the one in the middle, well, I have set it to autofocus and auto exposure lock. That's fine. You can change it to something else, but I think I'm going to keep that as autofocus and auto exposure lock. ISO button, keep it as ISO, don't change it. Lens function 2, I can use it as a focus, autofocus area mode plus AF on button. I'll explain what this is, because you're going to set this function up on another button. Autofocus area mode plus AF on in auto area autofocus mode. This is a very, very important function to quickly reach. So I have set it up on 2 function buttons. One on the lens function 2 button, one on another one. I'm going to talk about it going forward. Okay, command dials. All right, so the command dials thingy has to be changed. Just go inside command dials, then come down to focus / AF area mode selection. And turn the shutter wheel. It's typically set to this. Turn it back to this one, where the autofocus manual focus option is on the top and the plus option is on below. I'll tell you what it does. I'll come back to these things. Again, this is the record button. I want the record button to be set as an autofocus area mode selection button. All right, so what it does is, as you can see, if I press this record button, I can now cycle through different types of focus areas. But I want to control that through the shutter dial, not through the front dial, from the back dial. Because this is more convenient while shooting. I want to quickly move through different types of focus points by choosing this one, by using this dial. And the front dial is only going to be used to move from AFC to autofocus single to manual focus and all that. Now, in its default position, when the command dial is set to this thing, where the plus sign is on the top and the autofocus manual focus thing is at the bottom, this is what happens. All right, the back dial controls what type of focusing system you're using, autofocus single or continuous or manual focus, and the front dial moves to choosing different area focus mode areas. I don't want that, so it's not convenient, so I just change that. Okay, I just go there and keep it this like that. Just keep it like that. Let's come to the exposure compensation button. Don't change that. Again, this is if you have a grip. I don't use a grip, so not relevant to me. I'm not going to change the playback button to anything else. I want the playback button to be there, so it's in a great position right now. Great. Now I'm going to make two changes here. Okay, the OK button, go inside and ensure that you set to select center focus point, so that if you want to quickly come back to the center point, all you have to do is press the OK button and it's centered now. All right, so that's kind of is important. Okay, this is actually not the display button. Okay, this is the display button, but I have set the display button to AF area mode plus AF on and auto area autofocus. I'll again come back to that. So I'm using the sub selector center as my display button because I want to free up the display button as another autofocus area mode selection button, and because it's convenient, I'm going to show you why it's very, very convenient. I'm not going to change the release mode because it's nice. If you want to change the FPS, the shooting speed, quickly from single to low speed to high speed, I can quickly do that, so it's very convenient. I'm going to keep it as it is. For the AF on button, that means I keep it on 3D. I go inside, find AF area mode plus AF on, and then choose 3D tracking. So right now my AF on button is set as a 3D tracking button, and my display button is actually set as an auto area AF button. Let me show you why it's very important. Now I want to just get her eye in focus, so I press the display button, which is set to auto area autofocus mode, which means that the entire area is being searched by the autofocus system for the kind of subject detection that you have on. I have human subject detection on, so the moment I press the display button, the system is going to find a person inside the scene and find his or her eye. But if I want to quickly override that, and I want a bit more control, I want to use 3D tracking. You see, the moment I press on the AF on button, it's going to find a subject which is more central to the scene, more center and closer to the camera. Or if I turn the camera towards her and then press the 3D AF button, it's going to do a handover from subject detection to 3D. It's going to find her eye and lock on her eye and track the eye. But like you say, now it's tracking the eye. I'm holding the AF on button right now. But if I want to come back quickly to another area, and I want to sort of right now don't want to probably prioritize subject detection, but I want to use the tracking, the 3D tracking thing. It's going to prioritize what's right in the center and what's closer to the camera. So watch what happens. The moment I press the AF on button one more time, it's going to actually focus on the tripod. But if I go back and press the display button now, it knows that there is a person in the scene. It forgets that area within which I want to track things. It goes to auto wide area mode, completely wide open area mode, and it finds the subject's eye and keeps tracking the eye. So that's, I think, is very, very interesting and convenient. This is 3D tracking, this is eye detect, because the wide area AF is selected for the display button. Yeah, so that's how I have set this thing up, and I think this is very convenient because the Z6III actually does not have a subject detection override function that the Z8 has. And in fact, the ZF has the same problem. This system is not perfect. This implementation of me trying to override the subject detector in this scenario is not a perfect solution, but this works in most cases because, I am kind of asking the 3D tracker to focus on what's in front of me, right in the center, and closer to the camera. and it finds that object and it starts tracking. 3D tracker does not necessarily listen to the subject detect autofocus system. It can take a handover from it if that is a thing that's sort of in the middle of the image and close to the camera. For example, right now I'm using 3D tracking, it's detecting the eye. So it's very flexible that way. Now I think that explains a lot of stuff. Now I'm going to set up two more important buttons. I'm going to go to the FN2 button. All right, the FN2 button, I set it to flash view disable or enable, because if I want to quickly see what my settings are, because the moment you put on a flash, what's going to happen is that the live view, which shows you the settings of the camera, for example, if I'm increasing shutter speed, you can see the scene getting dark. All right, and when you use a flash on the camera, it's not going to show you the actual live feed. It's going to give you a flash view. So if I want to see what my settings are like, what kind of exposure I'm getting without the help of the flash, I have to just press this function 2 button and look at the tiny sign on top, and I can see what the real exposure is. Now the last button you set up is actually the FN1 button, or you can set it up first, but I'm discussing this last. The FN1 button, I have set it to access top item in my menu. And what is a top item in my menu? How have I set it up? I'm going to discuss that in the next video. That is also linked to how I have actually set up the autofocus system. It's going to actually improve your productivity a lot if you know how to set up your my menu. And my video on that is going to give you a fundamental thinking structure of how to go about it. And of course you can change a few things here and there, but I think you will get a fundamental structure on which to base on your customized your menu section. So see you there in the next video. If you're new here, subscribe to this channel and help me reach 6,000 subscribers soon. I'm going to see you soon.